Hi everyone, Matteo here. In this video we're going to have a look at the Essence 2-in-1 grinder made by Cocinaré. We will have a close look at the grinder, analyze the particle size distribution, and at the end I will make some coffees, one espresso, one Moka Pot and one pour over. Before we start, I just want to say that Cocinaré asked me if I wanted the grinder and they sent it to me for free. But I don't have any relation with them. They don't sponsor this video, they don't even tell me what to say. I just was intrigued to see how this grinder will work. And so the things you're gonna hear in this video are 100% my thoughts and my point of view about this product. Now, let's go. First, let's have a look at the grinder. It has two ways to use it. As you can see right now is the countertop mode, but can also become a portable grinder, but we will see this in a minute. In the box it comes all disassembled, as you can see, but it's very easy to build up. There are only 4 bolts. They also provide the wrenches to build it. The unit is entirely made of aluminum. It's pretty heavy and steady. I like the gold finish, and it's a design that I like to have on the kitchen counter. And that is also one of the reasons why I wanted this grinder. Sometimes design counts. The countertop mode is made of 4 parts. We have the structure, then we have the actual grinder, we have the motor, and we have the ground coffee container. A couple of details I want to highlight about the structure is first the grind size reference that we have on top of the base, and I think that is very nice to have here, and also is in a clever position because when we put the jar on top, the reference is it's hidden, so doesn't show all the time. So when the grinder is on the countertop you don't see it, and then when you need to grind the coffee you remove the jar and bam, here the grind size reference. Also there is a magnet system between the jar and the base, so the jar sticks perfectly on the center of the base, doesn't slip away. So if you take the grinder, if you put it like this, the jar doesn't go anywhere, but you can easily remove it, and this is something that I like. Another detail I want to highlight when the grinder is on the countertop mode is where we place the beans. It's here on the back, so we don't have to take the grinder off the stand every time we want to place the beans inside, but we access from here. And also look at this, there is a magnet perfectly fit. I love this stuff. Now the jar has a sort of rubber soft things that it's very useful for when we put on the counter because it doesn't slip away, and also prevent from scratch, something that unfortunately the base doesn't have. It's full aluminum, and also the bolts are coming out just a bit. So it's not really steady, and I think this is the only downside about the structure. I will definitely find something later in this video to put on the bottom because it can damage the countertop, so just be careful. On top we have the motor unit that is battery powered and provides a speed of 70 RPM. Now this is pretty slow, so it will take a bit of time to grind coffee beans, especially if we want to grind for espresso fine settings, but we will see this later how long. Here there is a port for the charger, is a Type-C, and on the top we have the button for turning it on and off. Now the grinder is battery powered, as I said, doesn't need any cable to make it work. The grinder can work also when it's attached to the power, but on the instruction in the box is written that it's better to use it while it's charging. I don't know why, I don't know the reason why, but I think that is a valuable reason, probably for durability and also for, I don't know, security. Now let's have a look at the grinder unit. It's the body is very solid, it's made of aluminum, and the things that I really like is the dial. It goes from 0 to 80, where 0 is the finer setting and 80 is the coarser setting. So we can grind from Turkish coffee, that is very fine, until very coarse grind like French press or cold brew. And in the middle we have all the sizes from Espresso, Moka Pot, pour over, AeroPress, any kind of brewing method. The dials feels very robust. You listen to the clicks, so satisfying. I really like the fact that there are numbers on the dials, so it's very easy to understand where the grind setting is. at that moment, and if you want to change, it's very easy, just follow the number and not going back to 0 and then count the clicks like it happens usually with the Comandante. And I think that is an advantage for this grinder, so it's very easy if you want to switch from espresso to filter or going to Moka or filter or espresso, you can change very easily just following the numbers. The chamber fits 30 grams of coffee beans when it's on portable mode, when it's in countertop mode can fit up to 50 grams of coffee. The grinder is called 2-in-1 because it can become from countertop to a portable grinder. So what you need to do is to attach the motor and the grinder unit, put them together, and now you have a portable grinder. Also in the box we have the case for the grinder for when we want to bring it away with us. Also we have another jar for the grounds that perfectly fits the bottom of the grinder like this. And now we have the grinder in a portable mode, and it's very solid, it's very steady, it's very heavy, but it makes it a premium product. So you can put the grinder in the case. Also here there is a space for the charger. Close it. And now you can bring the grinder with you. Okay, now let's go more in the specifics of the actual grinding. The Essence 2-in-1 grinder has a 38mm titanium coating conical burrs that unfortunately I cannot take it out. I tried, but I couldn't manage. Probably for safety reason, but for me this is the downside about the grinder because I cannot properly clean the Burrs Set. Now it's time for some coffee particle analysis. For this I will use this tool that is a portable particle analyzer, a device that uses photo analysis to analyze the coffee samples that we place inside. I will test 3 different grind sizes, one for espresso, one for Moka Pot and one for pour over, and these are going to be the same grind size that I will use later to make the coffees. Okay, let's start with the espresso. Okay, this is the graph I took from the espresso grounds. The average of microns is 422, as you can see on the top. And looking at the graph, I can say that the distribution is quite good. We can say focus in between the 200 and the 700 microns. And from the column, we can see better that it follows a very nice curve. Positive things is the fact that there is just few particles above the 800 microns, and also really good that the fines are not a lot. So everything is focused here with a peak between the 300 and 500 microns. So I'm expecting a good espresso from these grounds. This is the graph I took from samples from the grounds that I made for Moka. That is at 35 clicks with the grinder. Average of micron 538, and we see that it's spread more over the spectrum compared to the espresso. So usually more coarser you go, and more the particle distribution is more spread all over the graph, and that is what's gonna give us more complexity in the cup. But we can say that the ground size is focused from 250 until 800 and 900 here microns. If we're going to see the column, I can say that the grounds are spread very well here in this area. As you can see, like it's more spread compared to the espresso samples, but this part I don't really like. I don't like here the peak of the particles around 1000. There is no boulders, but you can say that there is gonna be like a larger particle size that when we brew with Moka, that can affect the balance of the cup, because what's gonna happen that if we focus extraction on this area, we should do, then a bit of particles, they're not going to be well extracted. That can bring to acidity, higher acidity and sourness in the coffee. Things that it works in the opposite side as well. So if we have a peak of fines that we focus on this area, we're gonna have more bitter taste. I can say that it's okay, the particle size on this spectrum, but I'm not very happy about this distribution here. But as I said before, for the espresso, only the taste will tell. Anyway, I'm happy with the general distribution of the grind size for Moka. okay, this is the graph that I took from the pour over coffee grounds, and I ground at 60 clicks with the grinder, and we can see the average is 739 microns, and the distribution is quite uniform all over the spectrum, even if I can say that here there is a peak here around 1300, and also I can see some boulders here, and you can see them very well visually. We can see from the column that also there is a dip here around the between the 600 and 700 microns. Here it's normal. I mean, there is no perfect grind size. It doesn't exist perfect grind size, so I cannot blame the grinder either. One thing that I'm not very satisfied is also the amount of fine particles that we have in the spectrum. I wasn't expected to have this amount between the 0 to the 200, to be honest, and it would be perfect if it was a bit low, and also to have less boulders. That's what could happen here in the cup, is that fine particles can give us bitterness, and the boulders can give us astringency and sourness from the coffee, because they're not extracted very well. So the ideal grind size is not to have so many fines, and not also have too many boulders. So if the spectrum, the coffee, the particle size distribution is focused between the 200 and the 1300, let's say 1400, we can have like a very nice balanced cup, but also they give us a lot of complexity from the coffee. And then, of course, depends on the coffee. Okay, so what we can say from the particle size analysis, we can say that the grinder performs better when it's set on the finer settings, like for espresso. We saw that for the Moka it's a good distribution, even if I didn't like the peak on the coarser side. And then for filter, we saw that it is spread almost very well, but there is too much fines and also some boulders. Only the taste can determine if the distribution is good or not, so it's time to make some coffee. I will start with making an espresso. I will use my Sage or BREW Barista Pro to do it, so I'm gonna use a basket of 54 millimeters. I will use 18 grams in the basket, but not only for espresso, but also for mocha and for pour over. So we can see with the different grind size how long it's going to take to grind these 18 grams. As I said before, the grinder speed is 70 RPM. That is a bit slow. So now I'm going to put the 18 grams of coffee inside the grinder, and I'm going to time how long it's going to take to grind this dose. Okay, now we put in the grinder. Start. Okay, it took 2 minutes and a half, and I think that is a lot. At the end of the day, it matters the quality of the grinder for me. This is for home, it's not for commercial use, so you don't have like customers waiting too long. It really depends what you think. I know that there are grinders that can take less, even like actual manual grinder can take less on grinding, but you need to grind. You need to use your hand. This one is you can stay on the counter. I don't know, while you're grinding the coffee, you can do something else. Actually, if the machine takes long, this machine takes 3 seconds to warm up. But if your machine for espresso takes longer time, I don't know, 5 minutes to warm up, you can turn on this, turn on the grinder, and they're gonna be both ready almost at the same time. The grinder has a very low static, and that probably is because the low speed, low static. So it's very good, doesn't really spread. Not even when you go to the coarse grind size, you see beans chaff going everywhere in the counter, and that's pretty positive. About the retention, there is no retention, so it's really good. So there is not so much fines attached on the grinder, and that's pretty positive compared to other grinders where the static is too much, that everything is stuck on the surface of the burrs. Let's make this coffee. Another thing is that the dosing jar here, it's a bit larger. For me, for a 54 millimeters. So you need to be very careful to put the grounds inside the portafilter, because they might go out. I'm using a dosing funnel, but still you need to be very careful when you put the grindings, because the jar is very wide that grounds can go out. So very carefully I'm going to tamp. Nice and neat. Okay, the espresso is not bad. I did a recipe of 18 grams in, 34 grams out with 28 seconds. It looks good, the crema is good. I mean, also like that depends about the coffee you're using, not the grinder and not only the machine. Let's taste it. I can say that it's a good espresso. If I have to think about the particle size distribution that we saw before, I think that reflects very well. It's very balanced, very sweet, the body is really good. I pulled the shot a bit shorter in yield, so I didn't even cover the classic 1:2 ratio between coffee and water, because it was 34 grams out with 18 grams in. And this is because I know the coffee very well, so I knew that if I was going to extract a bit more, I would extract too much bitterness from the fine particles of the grounds, but also there is no sourness coming from under extraction, because as we saw from the graph, there is no a lot of like coarse particles in the spectrum. So very positive, reflects what is the graph, and also I play the recipe based on what is the particle size distribution of the coffee, given of course by the grinder. Okay, now it's done with espresso. Let's make some Moka Pot. We are going to put 18 grams of coffee in, like it was for espresso. And we're going to grind, as I said before, at 35 clicks in timer. And we're going to see how long it's going to take to grind 18 grams, but at 35 clicks. Ready? Go. Okay, 1 minute 35. It's almost 1 minute, 55 seconds faster than when I ground the coffee at 16 clicks for espresso. So yeah, it gets faster. Still a bit slow, but I cannot do anything to speed it up. No retention as well for when I ground for Moka Pot at 35 clicks. And yeah, let's make the mocha, and then we are going to taste it. I don't even tell you how I make Moka Pot, because you can find plenty of videos about that on my channel. So if you want to check it out about Moka Pot, if you are Moka Pot fanatic, if Moka Pot is your way to make the coffee, I suggest to check my other videos in the channel, because you're gonna find very interesting. Perfect. Mocha is charged. Let's go to the stove. Okay, the Moka Pot is ready, and it's time to taste. The coffee tastes good, it's sweet, it's balanced, there is good sweetness, there is also a bit of bitterness, and of course the acidity that is gonna balance the cup. As we saw before with the spectrum of the particle size distribution, I have to say that sometimes it can be very difficult to balance a cup, because when you have a big amount of fines and also some coarser ground, as we saw the peak, we have to say that it's very difficult to balance the cup in the middle. So if we avoid over extraction, we might have a bit of like higher acidity, or if we eliminate this acidity, extracting more, we might highlight a bit of bitterness. That's not bad. I think that this grinder can work for Moka Pot. Of course, I need more testing. I need to test with more coffee and see how the grinder reacts. I can say that I'm very satisfied about the mocha. Okay, now let's make some pour over. I will use Orea to make it, a flat bottom brewer. I also made contents about this brewer, so if you want to check it out, you're free to do it. I'm going to use 18 grams, and I'm going to grind it at 60. Go in, Took 1 minute 10, 1 minute 11, so less than when we ground the coffee for Moka Pot. That was 35 clicks, so more we go coarser, and of course less time it takes to grind the same amount of coffee. Coffee is done. The coffee is pretty balanced, very sweet. There is not so much acidity in the coffee, mainly sweet, very juicy. If I need to think about the particle size distribution we found, I remember that it was, for me, a bit too much fines for this level of grind setting, and also there were a bit of boulders. Now I have to say that probably this larger amount of fine particles give us what is like really nice sweetness, not really on the bright side. So if I was going to grind a bit coarser and also like going too fast to reduce the extraction of these fine particles, probably we could get some dryness and stringency from the boulders. Now it's cooled down, the cup is opening a bit more, you can find a bit of acidity. Definitely the grinders, looking at the graphs that we saw before, produce a bit more fine compared to other grinders that I tested in the past. I can suggest this grinder if you want to use it for pour over for people that like more sweetness rather than acidity. But overall, it's a good sweet cup of coffee. Okay, now is the time to run my conclusion. I have to say that I like the design of the grinder, fits perfectly on my kitchen counter, so it's good. Then it depends about your style, what you like. I think it's very clever the fact that it's electric, so it's kind of like, looks like a manual grinder, but without the crank that we need manually to grind the coffee. So it's very good, it's very handy. The fact that it's electric, so it's very consistent on the speed of grinding. Talking about speed of grinding, 70 RPM maybe are not enough, as we saw grinding some espresso, but at the end you don't have to be with your hand grinding for all the time. You can turn on the grinder and then do something else like you can do some prepping on the machine. I'm not turning on the machine, putting some water in, and I don't know, reorganizing the tools. So that's the positive side of the fact that the grinder is a 70 RPM. The battery runs very long. Doing the testing, I charged the grinder only once and the battery is still there, so lasts very long. As we saw, 2 minutes half for espresso, 1 minute 35 for mocha, and 1 minute 10, 1 minute 11 for pour over. These are the range. Then of course depends on the beans that you're using. I try also to make espresso with different coffees and adjusting the grind size, and it works pretty well. So I'm very happy, even with the particle size distribution on the graph that we saw before. Moka Pot, I have to say that I like the grinder. It makes a good particle size distribution, even if there is a bit of coarse particles that can affect a bit the balance of the cup during making the Moka Pot. When we talk about pour over, the coffee tasting good, it's very sweet, still have it here. Now start to be a bit colder, but the coffee is very sweet, still there. The finish is nice. It's a good grinder for sweet cups, not very not too high the acidity, because it produces a bit, for me, too much fine particles for what is the grind setting. It works pretty well as a countertop grinder, and it works pretty well as a portable grinder. So these are the two features that, you know, can be kind of like useful even if you want to bring it to camping or outside. It looks very robust, very premium quality, the grinder. It's very steady, it's very solid, didn't give me any problem of grinding, not stopping, nothing. So for now, I'm very positive. I will continue to test the grinder, of course. So maybe something is gonna happen in the future, I don't know. Maybe I try to keep you updated, we will see. The dosing jar, I will change something. I will put like a guide in the inside, so I can concentrate all the grounds on the middle, because while I was doing testing, I was brewing coffee, I made some mess with the grounds going outside on the table or on the scales, and it was kind of annoying. But I really like the fact that it's a magnet, and the fact that there is this rubber thing on the bottom, so it's very nice and smooth. One thing that I will add is the same system of the jar putting on the base, because the base, it's kind of annoying. It's annoying me so much. The fact that it doesn't have the same material, and I'm really worried every time to scratch my counter, something that I don't want, of course. It doesn't make it very stable, so I will add something at the bottom to make the grinder a bit more stable, very nice to put on the countertop and not worry about ruining it. About the cleaning, I have to say that it's very hard to clean because I cannot take the burr out, and so I need to go with a long brush here, but I cannot see very well inside, so it's very hard to take out all the particles, especially like if you want to switch from a coffee to another, or like you want to run a weekly cleaning. It's very hard, and the fact that I cannot take the burrs out, it's a bit annoying. The dial is amazing. I like it, how it's built. It's very steady, it's very robust, doesn't switch easily. The numbers, super clever. Make the life easier when you want to do different kind of coffee at home, like I did in this video, espresso, mocha, and pour over. It's very easy and it's very immediate to change. So thumbs up for this. One last thing, price of the grinder, I don't know. They still need to launch on Kickstarter. They sent it to me before. Probably when the video is going out, I will have more information, and definitely I will add them in the description box below. So if you want information, just check underneath. I'm sure that I will put them down there as soon as I have them. Also with the links, if you're interested to check out more about the grinder, I will add everything in the description box below. And after this, I think that's all for this video. And thank you very much for watching. I really hope that you like this video and that has been useful for you to understand more about the Essence 2-in-1 electric grinder by Cocinaré. If you want to share with me your thoughts, or you have more questions about the grinder, you can just drop them in the comment section below. I will use this grinder more in the next days, so I will be able to answer more questions. If all the information I shared with you in this video convince you to back them on Kickstarter, you can find the link in the description box. And that's all. I hope to see you in my next videos, and wish you a wonderful day and delicious coffee. Ciao!